The story you're about to hear is true. The names have not been changed to protect the innocent. Have you ever thought to thank your antagonists? Who are the people in your life that thought you would never be good enough, that you'd never succeed? The people who thought that they were put on this earth for one reason, to teach you that lesson. For instance, Beethoven. He was deaf. People told him his whole life he would never be a great composer. But did he listen? My most memorable was my 8th grade math teacher. We were going to call her Miss Kramer because that was her name. She had this old woman face and a voice to match. She had these little half glasses that she would rip off her face every single time she was screaming at me, calling me by my first, my middle, and my last name, which was incredible. I don't even have a middle name. Miss Kramer hated me and my sense of humor at hello. The principal and the vice principals, on the other hand, they kind of liked me. They knew I was a little nuts, but they knew and they cared that my mother was dying of cancer and that my father had gone bankrupt for the 3rd time and we were dead broke. The house was in foreclosure, the cars were in the impound lot, the silver lining, we did save a bunch of money on car insurance. I grew up as a Jew-ish kid in Northeast Philly. That's because to me, every holiday was the same. They tried to kill us, they didn't. Let's eat. And making people laugh when I was growing up, that was my obsession, that was my passion. And I became good at it. One of my favorite things to do was make my mother laugh. And I used to go into her closet and find her mascara and put like bushy eyebrows and a bushy mustache. And I'd walk around the house doing my favorite and her favorite Groucho Marx impression from Your Bet Your Life. You guess the sacred white, you get an extra $100. It's a common white used around the house. And she would laugh. And when she did, that cancer was gone for just a minute. Because laughter does have the power to heal. And when she laughed, she felt better. And when she laughed, I felt better. Because medicine and laughter is the only medicine that's as good for the doctor as it is for the patient. And I learned that nobody ever died laughing. And I learned from the ripe old age of 10 that there was nothing, and I mean nothing, that I wouldn't do to hear that sweet sound of laughter. So I went out into the world to find my stage. Not many places for a 10-year-old kid, but I honed my skills. And most people would call me a class clown. I preferred the term CEO, Chief Entertainment Officer. And I became good at it. I became so good that when I was 13, the school administration had asked me to write and perform a Saturday Night Live type sketch show for the first ever full graduating class at Baldy Middle School. And they told me there was going to be 600 kids. All the parents, all the teachers, the administration, and dignitaries from all over Philly were coming. This was my chance. Baldy Middle School, gateway to Vegas. The night before the show, I'm rehearsing in my bedroom. And all over the news was a story about this Reverend Moon. Anybody remember him? Yeah? He ran the cult, for those that don't, called the Unification Church. His followers were known as Moonies. And he used to run around the country marrying like hundreds of couples at a crack. No pun intended. And I thought to myself, this must be a sign. Like, this is comedy writing itself. So the next day, I explained to the entire assembly that Reverend Moon married 400 couples in New York and he was coming in to tour Philadelphia. And at that very moment, he was spotted in our assembly. And at that very moment, I turned around and I Reverend Moon the entire 8th grade class. Now, if you thought it was funny, you should have heard 600 13-year-olds. The place erupted. And the best part, they let me finish the show. They were apparently too stunned to stop me. Now, I walked back to my class, and I am sitting there 15, almost 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, I may have got away with this. But then the phone on the front wall rang. And I stood up and said, well, that's for me. And I walked myself to the principal's office because, believe me, I knew the way. Now, when I get there, the principal, the 3 vice principals, and the disciplinarians are all there. The vice principal that we were going to call Mr. Linus, because that was his name, he decides he's going to do the talking. Now, this guy's a cross between Rodney Dangerfield and the Godfather. Hey, kid, what were you thinking? No, seriously, kid, what were you thinking? I said, Mr. Linus, I was thinking I wanted to feel the power and the warmth and the joy of making 600 people laugh at once. And then I figured I would give them all a gift from me to them as a gift of laughter. Hey, kid, well, that's kind of admirable, kid, but there's no way we can let you get away with this. The truth of the matter is, we all thought it was funny. Your 8th grade math teacher, kid, not so much. She wants you expelled. So, I'm going to make you an offer. Because I like the Jews. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Now that's comedy, kid. We are going to suspend you, but not expel you. And kid, you cannot walk for graduation. And my father, knowing this may very well be my mother's last chance of watching me graduate from anywhere, what had nothing to do with that, he goes back to plead my case. His defense, it's only a piece of skin. And if that's where the boys sit, you must acquit. Well, thank you, Johnny Cochran. He did do some good because I got to walk for graduation, and I did. The principal was a kindly gentleman with an incredibly funny sense of humor. He handed me my diploma, and then he looked at me, and he said, do you have anything more you'd like to share with the class? Have any kind of final words of encouragement? And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he handed me the mic. And no sooner did I have that mic in my hand before I was crooning. This goes out to the maven of math, the diva of division, the goddess of geometry, Miss Kramer. When my moon hits your eye, like a big pizza pie, that's amore. He let me go through 16 bars before he takes back the mic and he says, well, Mr. Freezman, I'm glad you didn't sing Moon River and urinate all over my stage. Miss Kramer was furious. She caught me right at the bottom of those steps. You, Glenn, Mr. Funny Man Freezman, you think everything you do is funny, and you think making people laugh is going to get you anywhere in life? You're going to be broke, alone, and on welfare. You will never be anything. Now that's motivation. 10 years later, I'm at a funeral, and I hear, hey, kid, when was the last time I saw your ass? When was the last time I seen you last? And I turn around, and it's Mr. Linus. And we start talking, and he tells me that what I did was the funniest thing to date that has ever happened at Baldy Middle School. He told me with the decline in the Philadelphia school district and all the federal government interference, he would rather deal with my behind than no child left behind. And then he told me the greatest compliment, that the reason it took them so long to call me to the office is they could not stop laughing. And then he asked me how old I was and what I was doing with myself and what I've done with myself. And I told him, well, as a teen, I ended up selling 500,000 Philadelphia soft pretzels. And I told him about the lessons I learned from a very street smart pretzel guy. His lessons were hard, they were twisted, they were salty. And half the time I think he was half-baked. But his lessons afforded me the ability to get the house out of foreclosure, to get the cars off the impound lot. And I told him that I now owned 5 candy stores and a national candy company. And then I told him what Miss Kramer said to me, and what an inspiration, what a guiding light, what a force that it had on my life. And he said, hey, kid, I always knew you'd be something. Hell, kid, you were always something. Let me ask you a question, kid. You mind if I tell Miss Kramer how you're doing? And I said, yeah, please do. But do me a favor. Tell her I said thanks. Because without her, I may not be the man I am here today. The next night at the Shiva house, he finds me. And he tells me he went out looking for Miss Kramer and he found her. And he told her that he saw me. And she said, where? On America's Most Wanted? And he said, no, it was at a funeral. And 10 years later, she still said, is it too much to ask for? It was his. But then I told her about your success, kid. And then I told her you wish to thank her, kid. And I'm telling you, that ruined her whole decade. I've been waiting all day to tell you this, kid. I think she's still a little moonstruck. Hey, kid, let me ask you a question. If she were here, right now, what would you say to her? I said, well, that's easy. You saw a bad moon arising. You thought it'd be trouble all the way. People will tell you that living well is the best revenge. I believe that living well above your antagonist's dire predictions and low expectations is the best revenge. What I've shared with you today, I hope will help you do just that. Like it says in the Bible, turn the other cheek.